How's it going, man?
Great. How are you guys?
We're great.
Are you guys in LA?
Yeah,
We're in LA.
We're in LA.
Very cool.
I'm in my my dad's house. My dad's a musician, so he has a little studio at his house where me and Malcolm have been working for most of this quarantine, and I'm here now. And it looks like Malcolm's at some sort of photo studio.
I have this little odd light room that we don't know what to do with the room, so I'm just going to turn it into a little listening hut.
Yeah,
it looks like
cool.
It looks like you should just do a daily still life oil painting in there.
Yeah, I know. Get up at 6 and meditate and take out the oils.
Yeah, exactly.
It looks like you have some gold records back there behind you, Kane.
Oh well, these ones are my dad's. I only have one plaque that I got recently from a band called Portugal The Man that I used to play in, and I was hardly involved on that record, but I took the plaque anyway.
Why? Yeah, of course. That's cool. Yeah, so our podcast is all about your journey in the music industry, really, and how you guys got to where you are. Sorry, Go ahead, Malcolm.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, that's what Kane's in it for. Gold records.
The gold records.
Yeah, he plays around LA so much because he just hopes that he'll get involved. He'll play shaker on someone's amazingly huge hit.
Apparently that's not a good method, because I've been doing it since I was a kid, and I have one.
But one's pretty good, man.
It is pretty good.
I'm very proud of the one. Very proud.
Yeah. That's a million times more than I have.
It's at least twice as much.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, so like I said, our podcast is all about your journey in the music industry and how you guys got together, formed more. Are you both from Los Angeles?
I am. Malcolm's from Alabama.
From Alabama.
Wow.
Yikes.
Your lighting is so good. It looks like you're standing like at a photo shoot, like literally. It's perfectly white behind you.
I'm actually in heaven. I met some dude, Gabriel.
You're like in a cloud or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're grew up in Alabama?
Yeah, I grew up in Alabama. I wasn't born there, but I grew up there. And I came out here maybe 4 years ago, something like that. 5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I met Kane 2 years later, and then we've been making music ever since.
That's awesome. How did you originally get into music?
I did choir. So I did.
Oh, cool.
I grew up a Christian. I'm laughing about that. I think that's beautiful. I don't really adhere to that anymore. I find spirituality through other avenues, but that's how I got into it. And then my parents were singers, and my mom showed me Ray Charles, my brother showed me the Beatles, and my dad showed me like Madame Butterfly, the opera. And then my brother started playing guitar, and I just wanted to copy him, so I started playing guitar. Yeah.
Is he older brother?
Yeah, he's 4 years older.
Okay, so did he kind of pass some bands on to you too?
Yeah, but this was, let's see. So he started playing guitar in the 5th grade. So that was probably around 2003 or something. I don't really know. But anyway, the bands were like Red Hot Chili Peppers and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. So you picked guitar was your first instrument?
Guitar, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I didn't start playing until I was 16 or 17. But Kane's been going at it since he was 3, man.
Kane, how'd you get into music? You said your dad's a musician.
My dad's a brilliant musician. He was like, he is from Boston, and he moved he's from a small town just outside Boston, but he moved to LA, I think about when he was 19 or 20, and in the 80s, somewhere in the early 80s. And he was just kind of like, he did the session guitar player thing. He did a lot of touring, did a lot of playing on records, and he's just a brilliant musician. So I grew up not only, around his influence, but the influence of all his friends, which were these other seasoned kind of session musician people. And so I just went to a lot of local gigs and stuff with him. And, you know, I think drums are my first instrument. I think a lot of kids are kind of drawn to drums. And so if you pair that up with, like, you know, drummers who are, you know, constantly recognizing that in you at sound check and like picking you up and put them on, you know, I sat on, you know, all my dad's drummer buddies' laps and played at sound check and stuff. So
That's rad.
I had such a like blessed musical upbringing, and I do cherish it. So that's how I got into it. I mean, I would have had to work really hard to not be a musician. It was kind of forced upon me.
It sounds like it. Your dad was having you roadie and stuff at like 3.
Yeah, definitely. It was force fed, but I liked it. I think when people are like force fed, you know, classical piano or violin, it's kind of like, ooh, that's, you know, that's a little rough. But when it's rock and roll, nobody feels bad.
Sure. Yeah, I have 2 sons, but one of them's younger. One's 4, and we just got him like an electric kit. So he's been practicing with like the kick and then the hit the snare. So
I think it's such a good instrument for kids to start on, because I feel like drums are really good at consistently kind of being rewarding, and there's not that much you need to kind of know about the instrument in order to play it. You know what I mean?
You just kind of bang around until, well, obviously you have to come up with the beats later.
Sure.
I think he just like smashes all of them and just, you know, I'm just trying
a good go-to.
Kind of like the foot.
It's so natural for a kid to want to just thrash out, you know?
Yeah. And he's very high energy too. So I'm like, how do we like chill him out?
Get him
a drum set.
You should get him to talk to Kane.
Yeah, I would talk. I'd
sound the same.
Oh man, that would be great.
I'm imagining Kane's dad. It's like the reverse of anything you see in the movies, where the kid's like, "Dad, I want to be a musician," but Kane's like, "Dad, I want to be an attorney."
He's like, "No."
His dad's like, "No, you will drop out of school."
Yeah.
Yeah, I was telling my friends, because I could play guitar, but I'm poorly, and I would just, you know, screw around and stuff in high school and everything. And I was telling my buddy who I used to jam with, I'm like, yeah, like we never had a drummer. Like drummers were always the hardest instrument to find somebody that was willing to play. So I'm like, I just like created my own drummer.
Yeah.
So
Great.
In like 5 years, we'll be able to just bring him in and practice studio with us.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah. So what was the first band that you really played in, Malcolm?
I played in like some high school bands. We didn't know what to call ourselves. So I think we were called like, I don't remember. It was just like it was like the acronym of our first names, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Cool.
But we basically did covers, and we wrote maybe 2 songs, and they were of questionable quality. But I'm glad those will never get out to the public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, well, what took you to LA? How did you get to Los Angeles?
So I was in architecture school, and I had spent a semester abroad in Rome. And while there, I just had a realization that while I liked what I was studying, I didn't wake up, you know, thinking about it, and I didn't go to sleep thinking about it. And I did that with music. So I just said, why don't I attempt that? And my brother had already been out here for a few years. He's a director and an actor.
Oh,
and
cool.
So I knew I had some sort of established base. So
sure, you had family there already. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, so you come out to LA. What about Kane? What was the first band you played in, aside from like jamming with your dad and stuff? Did you start anything?
Yeah, the first band I started, or I didn't start it, but I joined one of my friends' bands in middle school. We were called Probation. It was pretty rad.
Middle school, that's a good name for a middle school band.
It was really edgy. It was super edgy. But yeah, I mean, that was like the first band I was ever in, and I'm still friends with all those guys, which is great. I mean, that's the other thing about there's been a number of, you know, bands after that, but it's always been like this kind of group of musicians who I grew up with who are all LA natives, kind of in different formations. So there's been like a series of, you know, a ton of kind of local bands that we've all done. But then I remember there was like a, you know, a definite turning point when I joined that band Portugal The Man for a while, which was, I think I joined in like, it was 2013 or something like that, because a friend of mine was in the band or at the time had joined.
Oh, that's how you
added on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Basically what happened.
Yeah, tell me about how you got involved with them.
They had recorded a record. They had a lot of records. Portugal The Man has been working, you know, and producing music.
Oh, forever. They had like 5 albums before the big hit came.
Yeah, totally, way before. And they did an album that I guess was a little bit more musically extensive than their previous one. So they wanted to add a member. So they added my buddy, who was playing like a number of different instruments, kind of as like an extra hand. He was playing guitar and he was playing some percussion or whatever. And in the middle of the tour he was on, they had a hard, I guess their drummer at the time was going through some personal stuff, and they ended up having to kind of can him because he was like drinking so much that he couldn't play the gig anymore.
Yeah,
which is really sad. I think he's doing better now. But so he called me. My buddy called me one night and he was like, "Can you get on a plane like tomorrow and join up with us tour?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And that's basically how it happened. And I was just gonna fill in for the rest of that tour, but I ended up getting along with the guys, and we all really liked playing together. And I was in that band for like 4 or 5 years after that. Did a couple records with them. They're all super great guys. I'm close with them. I was talking to John, the singer, the other day. But yeah, I love them. And then that experience was a different experience than I had before, kind of either being in a local band or just being a hired gun for, you know, a tour or an album. That was the biggest band I felt I was a part of, that was kind of working on at a certain level due to the fan base they built prior to.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So that was like that must have been like a big step going from maybe just playing locally into,
well, it was just
a big tour.
It was just a different experience. I mean, I had toured with bands like that before, but okay. But not as I didn't feel like I was a member of that band. You know what I mean? Where with Portugal The Man, they were really good about. They really wanted it to feel like to be a band and not be people who were getting hired onto the gig. But yeah, it was definitely a different experience. Kind of feeling like, you know, you're not supporting somebody else's project, feeling involved in that project. And then also bizarre because they had, you know, this audience that I was enjoying on a nightly basis, but, you know, couldn't really give myself too much credit for gaining. But it was a blast. It was a blast. I learned so much. They taught me a lot about how to kind of the ins and outs of being a band that functions at that level and plays theaters and things like that. I was pretty green to it before.
So you played on a couple records with them. What was the first album that you were on with them?
The first album I did with them was called Evil Friends.
Oh, really? That's like my favorite one of their albums, to be honest.
Oh, thanks, dude.
Well, I think Modern Jesus is my favorite song from Portugal The Man.
Yeah, that's a great song. I love that song too. That's one of my faves as well.
Wow. So you're on like the 2 massive record. I mean, at least the biggest record ever of theirs. Woodstock. I played on a few of the songs, but I wasn't the only drummer. That was after I had stopped touring with Portugal to kind of do to start this project essentially.
You picked the wrong time, buddy.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, Woodstock had 2 of the biggest songs probably ever on.
Yeah.
At least Feel It Still is like the biggest song for like 2 years.
It's record breaking. It's got record breaking numbers. So yeah, I guess you know, they would say I jumped ship a little early, and I would say they're absolutely right. But I love those guys, and honestly, they deserve the success they got with that song and the songs on that record, because they have been, not like you said, not only have they been putting out records forever, they work hard, super hard. I've seen it every day, so I'm really happy.
And aren't they from didn't they start in Alaska or something crazy like that?
Yeah, they're from Wasilla, Alaska.
Yeah,
it's really cool. I mean, 3 of the members now are from Wasilla, Alaska. It used to be all of them, but they've kind of had to, being a band so long, they've had member changes and they've picked up some keyboard players from Seattle. But yeah,
I imagine all Alaskan people are just hardened.
Yeah, I mean they're tough.
They're like need to be thawed. You know what I mean?
Right.
They got that icy attitude.
Well, you know what it is? I can't speak for the Alaskan people in general, because I actually haven't had that much experience with Alaskans outside of the guys in the band, but I've been to Alaska many times with them. But they are super tough, but they're also really very, very sweet.
I think touring, if you're in a band from Alaska, that just takes you to another level of hard work, because you are so far away from the US.
Oh,
yeah. And if you were touring even to Canada, there's probably not a big city within maybe 10 hours or something like that, driving or more. So
I know
if you're touring, it's a beast.
Yeah, it sure is. Alaska has Sarah Palin and Portugal the Man. They're the only ones. They're the only ones who came to fame.
Well, there's another band called Static Cycle that came out of Alaska too, that were modern rock scene for a while. No, they weren't.
No.
Malcolm, have you done any touring?
No, I never have.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'm kind of I worked it out so that I would have to start this project during quarantine, which was pretty brilliant on my end. And I don't know if I'll ever have to tour. Thanks for asking.
So how did you guys meet?
Mark, you want to tell the story? I feel like I always tell the story. I want to hear you tell it.
No, yeah. Sit back, buddy. We have a mutual friend so Kane and I would always individually go to this one bar in this area in LA called Franklin Village. It's called La Poubelle, which means the trash can in Spanish. In French. And there was this guy that always wanted to connect us there. He's actually a great friend of mine, and Kane only knew him peripherally as the dude he would share cigarettes with and have a Miller High Life with outside on the sidewalk or whatever. And I think he pitched it to Kane that his best friend's brother was the sickest in town. Yeah. And Kane was like, "Oh God, I've heard that so often. That sounds so unappealing." But we met up anyway, and we actually liked each other, and we decided to write with each other, and it just happened very organically. And I feel like our strengths complemented each other's, areas where maybe we hadn't put as much thought or time into yet. So it just ended up being a really nice thing.
Mm-hmm. And then were you guys writing what became this EP right away?
Yeah. So we were each doing solo projects. Kane was working with a guy named Jonathan Rado, who is from Foxygen, and he's now a great producer. He played on our record. He's a great dude. And then I was working with a friend of mine named Paige Stark, and she had this guy John Bryan come in and assist on that. So we had these songs that we had written separately from each other, but once we met up, we sort of integrated them with each other's tastes, musical tastes, and intuition. And so we revamped some lyrics, we reharmonized chords, and made them sound more like us than they had, individually.
Very cool. Yeah, and you guys put out that EP. You have 2 EPs coming out though, right? It's like one of, is it? It's not called Half. Is it one of 2?
It's one of 2.
Okay.
Although I've found myself saying half now because a lot of people say half, but it is one of two. We're on record.
Yeah. A lot of people say half. All four of them, actually.
Yeah, all four of the people.
They've all said half. Well, tell me about the songs. Like, how did you split up the EP? Like, was everything recorded at the same time? Like, how did you?
The idea going in. Oh, sorry, Kane. Go ahead.
No. You do it.
Okay. The idea was definitely to make a full length album, but we realized towards the end that we had no following to release this album to. So we spoke with our team, as they say in the biz, and they suggested that it might be better to roll this out, over a longer period of time. And so we decided to break it up into 2 EPs, and we just wanted whoever to listen to them to know that it was one part of 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I think due to the fact that we had been incubating this project and recording this record and doing all this stuff, all kind of behind closed doors, and we weren't public with it at all. We didn't have an Instagram. We didn't tell anybody. We kind of realized that we had been living in a little bit of an outdated fantasy of just coming out of the gates with an album, and and it's just not typically the way that people listen to music these days. So instead of just doing singles and just releasing a song at a time or a couple songs, we were like, all right, well, let's at least split it in half. That way it'll still feel cohesive, and we hope to compile it all as a record one day.
How did you decide on what songs would go on the first EP versus the second one?
It just felt right.
Really?
It just felt like, yeah.
Okay.
And in terms of sequencing, it sounded like it ran together well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And then you guys are signed to Warner Brothers or Warner Records, right?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well,
Kane.
that was, we got lucky, really. Basically, there's a guy who I met years and years ago named Chris Morris, who at the time was an A&R guy at or he was doing A&R at Atlantic. I think people don't like the term A&R guy. It sounds great. Anyway, he's a great dude. He's unbelievably talented. But he was at Atlantic Records, and I met him through somebody, I can't remember who, but I was in a band at the time that he was, trying to sign to Atlantic, and that kind of never happened. But me and him stayed in touch because I really liked him, he, when me and Malcolm were recording our record, I was talking to him, and he said, "Oh, I'm moving to Warner. Warner is kind of doing they're reimagining the label, and people are kind of moving in and out, and I'm moving over there." I was like, "Cool." He's like, so send me anything you've been working on, because I'll be doing A&R there and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, great, I'll send you this record I've been working on. I think I sent him a demo, actually, because I didn't have any bounces from the studio. So I just sent him a demo of stuff, and he thought it was cool, and asked if he could come to the studio to listen to what we were working on in there. And he basically came in and listened. We were about 80% done with the record, and he came in and gave a few songs a listen and really liked it, and asked if he could bring Aaron Bayshuk, who is the new CEO over there. And then Aaron Bayshuk came and listened to it and really liked it. And they essentially kind of made us an offer, not an official offer, but they said that they thought we should be on Warner. And we hadn't really been, we were planning on shopping around to labels. And I think we were kind of thinking, we would aim for an indie label just due to the nature of the band's sound. And but the way that Warner kind of described how they envision the label being approached now under Bayshuk's kind of supervision was to function more like an indie label when it comes to developing bands. So it felt like we are getting offered a cool deal with a big company that is gonna, who really likes our stuff, and I have a friend there who I know and have history with, and just felt like the right place to be. So we did it, and we're super stoked.
Wow. Was that intimidating having him come to the studio where you guys were playing?
It would have been if Chris wasn't there for me. I was so comforted by Chris personally. But yeah, I bet Malcolm, was that weird?
What? You bet I was nervous?
Well, I don't know. I was nervous, but I guess I was a little intimidated. No,
it is a little bit intimidating. I mean, but they're both genuinely good guys, and they're both intelligent, and they got the music, and you could tell that. So I think whatever fear we had dissipated pretty quickly.
That's good.
They made us an offer, and we said, "You cut that in half, and we'll take it."
They are both so sweet, and also I think that like we'd been in that studio for so long at that point for like a few months, and it felt like kind of our house. You know what I mean? So I think that had we been at like in an office playing them, I don't know how people do that. Like go to a record label and play them.
Something. No way.
Yeah, like show up there and you're in like a conference room, and he's just gonna be like, "This sucks." All right, I want this.
I'd be super nervous about that. And I will say, I mean, they both played it really cool. Like when they kind of started talking about us being at the label, like me and Malcolm were confused. We were like, "Wait, I don't understand." We weren't so clear. Like it wasn't so obvious that they liked the music.
Sure.
But based on their general reaction, they were just kind of stoic.
That's awesome.
And then they revealed to us that they like it a lot, which was extremely exciting.
Yeah. When did you guys start recording it? Was it already quarantined, or was the record done before the pandemic?
The record was done.
The record was done before the pandemic. We started recording it quite some time ago. Longer. Actually, I don't know how long ago exactly. Do you know?
It was probably about. Well, listen, including pre-production, it was probably 2 years ago. But actually getting into the studio, maybe a year and a half ago. But we worked with a guy named Tony Burke, who's one of our favorite guys in the world. He's part of our management team as well, but he was our producer, and I think he's quite known for taking a bit of time to have the band incubate with him. And he shows you a bunch of music and tells you which books to read, and you sort of join his cult. And then honestly, he
tells you to drink this.
We love him like a second dad or something. So it was an incredible time to have, and like very, very valuable, because I don't think we were ready to record, and I think he recognized that and made us rewrite and just come up with a better quality. That's definitely how he helped.
Yeah, me and Malcolm were so excited to like start recording that I think we were willing to kind of skip the step of just being a band together for a while. And he kind of tricked us into thinking we were recording for a year while we were really just, being a band.
Practicing with each other. Well, how was it? I mean, wow. You guys signed to Warner Records, and then this pandemic hits. Like, how was? I mean, did that throw? I'm sure it threw a wrench in everything you guys had planned.
Well, it did and it didn't. I mean, the main big kind of left turn that we've taken or reapproach to what we've been planning on doing is we were anticipating kind of touring a lot this year, hopefully in support of other bands. We were hoping to be a support on tour. So that's obviously not going to happen. But besides that, we kind of had this year planned out with, a releasing the 2 EPs with a couple singles in front of them, and all that's remained intact. I think that we have to shift gears and think, about how to fill the void of touring that the lack of touring is left. And so we are writing a lot more, we're recording a lot more. We're really lucky to have access to the studio at my dad's house, and so we're going to try to produce as much music as we can right now. I think that's just all we can do, and do some live streaming stuff. We definitely miss both attending live shows and performing, but we'll just have to kind of get creative and double up on our other kind of recorded stuff.
Sure. Have you guys done the live streams yet?
We just did our first one the other day.
Oh, really? How did
no.
it go?
It went
well. We have another one tomorrow, which will be Tuesday the 28th, I believe, at 11 a.m.
Oh, really?
For-
I'm going to check that
for
out
bands
tomorrow.
in town. Yeah.
Yes, please do.
Is it going to be on your personal Instagram or through bands in town?
No, it'll be actually, I think it's on Twitch. Bands in Town has a
cool.
on Twitch. But yeah, you know, it's interesting. We're still learning how to kind of approach that. I feel like the world's still learning how to approach it. I've seen people do it in so many different ways, and there's a lot of people who are doing it in a really inspiring way, which is exciting to me. Where I'm always most taken by a live stream performance when it feels like people are kind of running with the medium instead of running away from it. You know, like I think the Haim girls just have done a number of really cool live streaming things in different environments, and it always sounds really good. And I like seeing people I like getting a glimpse into people's world when I'm watching the stream. I think that's really appealing. And there's an area where we can kind of introduce a whole new aspect to what a band's kind of, you know, outlet to, or, you know, how a band represents themselves to an audience. We can, it's become more intimate because we're all at home now. So we're kind of peeping into each other's homes. I think that's pretty cool.
That's what I think is cool.
With the creative
aspect.
Yeah, for sure. I think with the creative parameters of quarantine limiting us from interacting with our band, like Kane and I have been in a cell together, so we do see each other often and we work together. But what we've done for the live stream thing is we've had to reapproach what a song sounds like. So it's almost like reproducing a little bit of the song and presenting it in a completely new way, which is kind of cool to have sort of a duo performance of it, and then this, you know, larger recorded one, and then we have demos. So there's like all these versions. It's like how far can you stretch one damn song?
Yeah,
you know.
So you got to kind of strip it back a little bit to perform it.
Yeah. Well, the challenge is that we personally at the moment are trying to avoid it being because it's a duo performance of stuff and we only can perform stuff, the two of us. We're trying to do something different than the kind of two acoustic guitars thing, not because there's anything wrong with that, but just because I guess we're always curious about, you know, doing something differently.
Sure.
So we're trying to not strip it back too much, but we're kind of juggling a lot of, you know, different kind of equipment and musical gear, and, you know, turning things on and off and playing with a drum machine and getting pedals, and it ends up being exhausting. So I wonder if that's, you know, I wonder how long that'll last, that incarnation about it. But yeah, because of the setup, technically we have to kind of reapproach the arrangement, because there's just no way we can kind of try to reproduce what's on the record, you know, and
live.
Yeah, and do it just the two of us with, you know, tape machines and things like that. So it's a different version, it's a different beast, but
that's
that also
cool.
makes it its own like exclusive little vibe.
Yeah, I feel like you guys, or artists in general, are just having to stretch their creativity as far as they can to try to figure out something to keep people engaged. I mean, wow.
Yeah, which is really great. That's really exciting to me. As a music fan, I'm just really excited to hear, you know, what people do.
Yeah, I think it's super. I think it's cool, and I hope it continues after, like, hopefully quarantine lets up. But like, yeah, like you said, like being able to talk to you guys and see where you live, and, you know, where you know, it's crazy to me. And like usually it's like, you know, at a venue, like, hey, blah blah blah, but like seeing, you know, where you guys are at, and, you know, it just adds a whole another element to the whole thing.
It does. It's very cool.
Yeah, fans really get a kick out of it too.
Absolutely.
So you guys have put you put a video out for one of the songs on the EP. Well, there's two versions of the video. The one I watched was like a girl on a cell phone, and she's like That's a really rad concept in a video. Like, how did you guys pull that off?
Well, the girl in it, her name is Riley Keough. She's a brilliant actress, and she's a friend of ours, and she came up with that concept.
Oh, okay.
Her and her partner Gina, kind of came up with this idea to do a video like this. That was at the beginning of quarantine. I think everybody was wondering how to make stuff and wanting to make stuff and how to do it, like, you know, under these circumstances. But yeah, they came up with that idea and just did it basically, and kind of handed it over to us. And
wow,
we're just in love with the video.
Yeah, we're thrilled.
We're so excited.
We love that video.
I love that video. I think they did such a good job.
It's so awesome, like how it all makes sense. And she's doing all these things on her phone, going to Instagram, like unfollowing you guys, like blocking, and then like taking notes, like trying to FaceTime people. Like the way that it was put together it's brilliant. It's awesome.
And it is technical. I mean, they it's impressive the way they did it. I don't love the picture it paints of me. I think I'm not such a cool dude, but it's okay. Taking one for the team.
Yeah, but it's a cool video. And then, do you have videos for all the songs, or you gonna just?
We're gonna be making some more. We're gonna be making some more videos. Malcolm's brother just directed a video for a song called "Elaborate Attractions," and that video was he did a really good job. Really good job on that.
Cool.
And we have a video.
We might do some visual content for. We have videos for 3 of the 5, and we might do some visual content for the other 2. We just have to discuss that a little further. I think it'd be cool to have, you know, at least I like looking at some sort of visual concept that ties into the world of, you know, the typically the audio artist. So it might be cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, dude, thank you guys so much for doing this. I really appreciate you hanging out with me today.
Yeah, of course. You have a fantastic voice.
You do.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, of course. I have one more question. I want to know if you guys have any advice for aspiring artists.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
Mark, you want to go for it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have to do it. I mean, there's that Shia LaBeouf. You've seen that Shia LaBeouf video where he's just he's performing that monologue that somebody wrote for him. Just do it. But it's it's very true. I think you can have something along the lines of paralysis by analysis, where you can figure out every way why something wouldn't work. But I think you just have to jump in.
Yeah,
if you're aspiring.
I think I agree, and I think that the sentiment of that, really, when you reduce it, is just being persistent and having persistence, and also that paired with, I feel like across all artistic mediums, the exclusive skill set necessary is knowing how to keep yourself inspired, and it's different for everybody. And just having that skill set for yourself and carrying that with you. If you can keep yourself inspired, you won't stop doing it. And if you don't stop doing it, you're going to be great. So I mean, that can extend itself to figuring out what your routine means. Like for me, I like to wake up and I do writing best in the morning. So I'll block out a time for writing, and you just figure out what works for you. And it might be that you wait until, you know, nighttime. But I think a daily attempt at it is incredibly important. What Kane was saying, persistence is definitely the key.